I was suddenly told that I am the long-lost true heiress. The car twisted and turned before finally stopping in front of an impossibly large house. I have never seen such a huge door in my life. We've arrived, Miss Josephine. The driver respectfully opened the car door for me. I took a deep breath, my legs feeling a bit weak. As soon as I got out of the car, I saw a group of people in black suits and sunglasses standing in unison at the entrance. This kind of scene, are they here to rob the place? I instinctively flinched backward. Good day, miss. They bowed in unison at a perfect 90-degree angle, their voices so loud they could scare the birds from the trees. I was speechless. I'm really not here to cause trouble. At that moment, a middle-aged man and woman hurried out of the main gate. The woman was exceptionally well-maintained, her eyes red-rimmed, radiating an indescribable excitement. The man looked serious, but when he glanced at me, there was a hint of complexity in his eyes. Josephine, my daughter, the noblewoman grabbed my hand. Her voice choked with emotion, my mind buzzed with a sudden shock, although I had heard them talk intermittently on the way, about how the wrong child was taken 20 years ago, how my resume caught the HR department's attention because I looked so much like this unexpected father of mine, but at this very moment, it still felt like a dream. Josephine. An ordinary girl who grew up in an orphanage and barely managed to finish college with scholarships and part-time jobs, am actually the biological daughter of the chairman of Lopez Group. This windfall has left me a bit dizzy. Dad, Mom, I tentatively called out. Good child, they responded quickly and eagerly, with joy in the corners of their eyes and brows. The cheap dad, also known as Chairman Lopez, though still keeping a straight face, clearly had the corners of his mouth turned up slightly. He patted my shoulder. It's good to have you back. It's good to have you back. As he spoke, he pulled me inside. Come in quickly, and see your home, my home. I followed them through the gate, stepping onto the polished marble floor that was as smooth as a mirror, and nearly slipped. In front of me was a sparkling crystal chandelier, so high that I had to crane my neck to see the top. The painting on the wall, though I can't understand it, feels more expensive than all the money in my bank account combined. What's even more exaggerated is that the fountain statue in the center of the living room is taller than the entire 30-square-meter rental apartment I used to live in. I pinched the inside of my thigh hard. Ouch. That hurts. This isn't a hallucination from eating something bad. Am I really going to become rich? The little voice in my heart is already going wild with excitement. Josephine, are you satisfied? My cheap mom looked at me nervously. I nodded frantically, grinning with a standard 8-tooth smile. Satisfied. So satisfied. How could I not be satisfied? This is like a luxury package falling from the sky, just as our family of 3 was happily preparing to stage a touching scene of a long-lost family reunion. Mom, Dad, you're back. A sweet, delicate voice came from the staircase. I turned to look in the direction of the sound. A girl in an exquisite lace dress, with fluffy curly hair, was gracefully descending the stairs while holding onto the handrail. She is very beautiful, like a doll. But when she looked at me, there was a hint of barely noticeable scrutiny and hostility in her eyes, an illusion. The girl walked up to us, intimately linking arms with my mom, tilting her head, and asked sweetly, "And this is the new maid?" I looked down at myself, a plain cotton t-shirt, faded from washing, with a bit of pilling at the cuffs, and my hair casually tied into a low ponytail. Then I looked at her, dressed in designer clothes with flawless makeup. Yeah, indeed. Standing next to her, I totally look like someone who just came to the city looking for a job. This must be the mistaken identity, the fake heiress, Molly, right? I know exactly what's going on. I smiled and extended my hand. Hello, I'm Josephine. Nice to meet you. I look forward to getting to know you. Molly's sweet smile on her face stiffened for a moment. Josephine, she repeated my name, the words seeming to be squeezed out from between her teeth. My mother sighed, took Molly's hand, and explained the whole story once again. Molly listened, her eyes reddening, tears falling like broken strings of pearls. So, I'm not your biological daughter. Her voice trembled, her face full of disbelief as she turned to me, her eyes filled with hurt and a trace of resentment. Since your real daughter is back, I'll leave right now, she said, shaking off my mother's hand, and turned to run outside. Her tearful expression made her look like a little puppy abandoned by its owner. Pitiful and forlorn, my mother quickly pulled her into a tight embrace, her heart aching. Molly, what kind of talk is that? You're also my daughter. If you leave, how could I go on living? Mom, sob, The mother and daughter hugged each other, crying as if their hearts were breaking. My father stood to the side, at a loss, occasionally glancing at me with concern. Afraid I might feel wronged, I stood there like an extra who had accidentally wandered onto the set. Wait, this villa has 3 floors, with at least a dozen rooms, right? Is it really that hard to support one more person? I thought so and asked it out loud. I don't mind if you stay here too. Having one more person means having more company. Though it seems she isn't too keen on the idea, my dad immediately chimed in. Yes, yes, Josephine is right. Molly, you're our daughter too, from now on. You two will be sisters. Molly's crying suddenly stopped. She lifted her head, her makeup smeared from tears, and looked at me with a complicated expression. What do you mean? Are you pitying me? I don't need your sympathy. Her voice suddenly rose, her emotions flaring up. Are you reminding me that I stole 20 years of your life? Fine, then I'll just die. Let me die. As she spoke, she clutched her chest, her body going limp as she began to collapse to the ground. Oh no, Molly. My mother screamed in panic, hastily supporting her. Dar Lee, come quickly, Molly is having a heart attack. The once warm family reunion scene instantly turned into complete chaos. I stood in place and raised an eyebrow. TSK, this heart attack really came at the perfect time. It seems that life as the true heiress of a wealthy family might not be so easy after all. I silently began to calculate in my mind. If emotional appeals won't work, then, let's get down to practical matters. Dar Lee. The Lopez family's personal physician hurried over with his small medical kit. He moved faster than a sprinter in a 100-meter dash. Step aside, everyone. Step aside. He pushed aside the people surrounding Molly and began administering first aid. After a flurry of frantic efforts, Molly's breathing finally stabilized somewhat. Dar Lee wiped the sweat from his forehead and said to my parents with a grave tone, Mr. Lopez, Mrs. Lopez, Miss Lopez must not be subjected to any more stress. When he said this, he deliberately glanced in my direction. The meaning couldn't be clearer. I was the source of stimulation. I sneered inwardly. All right, I'll take the blame for this. I knew it. The drama of the real and fake heiress in novels would only be more absurd in reality, according to the usual trope, is the next step to announce that I'm a distant relative, assign me to the most remote servant's room, then deliberately ignore me at various banquets, and finally make me lose everyone's support, leading me to end my own life in despair. No, I'm not that fragile. If I die, it's truly the end, with no chance of rebirth. Maybe, I should strike first. While they still have that tiny bit of guilt towards me, I should take advantage of it and grab whatever benefits I can. I took a deep breath and was just about to speak. Bang, the door was violently pushed open, and a handsome guy, who looked to be about 6'3", rushed in like a gust of wind. Who's bullying Molly? He roared so loudly that the crystal chandelier in the living room trembled. Miraculously, Molly, who had already fainted, was jolted awake by his shout. She slowly opened her eyes, her long eyelashes still adorned with glistening teardrops, poised to fall, evoking a sense of pity. Brother, you're back. Her voice was weak, with a hint of tears. Oh, so this is my long-lost biological brother, the heir of the Lopez group, Frank. Frank rushed to Molly's side in a few quick steps, his face full of anxiety. Mo, don't be afraid, your brother is here, no one can bully you. As he said this, the veins on his neck bulged. As if he were ready to fight someone to the death, Molly pouted, and tears began to stream down her face once again. Brother, I just found out today that I'm not your biological sister. She is. She extended her slender finger, pointing directly at me. The sorrow and grievance in her tone were enough to drown a person. You all are finally reunited as a family, and I'm just an extra. As she spoke, she suddenly started coughing violently, her pale cheeks flushing with a sickly red hue. I sob, Dar Lee, don't save me, I'm useless anyway, just let me die. She began pushing Frank away again, insisting that she wanted to die. The classic drama is playing out again. Frank looked at her like that, his heart aching unbearably. Nonsense, you're the only sister I have, I won't acknowledge anyone else. He turned his head and glared at me fiercely, but the moment he saw my face clearly, he froze. He looked at my dad, then at me, his lips moving unconsciously, like, it's really too similar. Of course it is. My cheap dad and I are practically cut from the same mold, same single eyelids, same not-so-high nose bridge. Even the coin-sized birthmark on the left cheek is in the exact same spot. With this face, even if I were thrown into a crowd, no one would need a paternity test to know we're father and daughter. Seeing that Frank's attention had been drawn to me, Molly coughed a few more times, unwilling to be outdone. Brother, cough, cough, successfully drew Frank's attention back again. Frank seemed to have made some major resolution, straightening his back. Even if you are my biological sister, so what? I don't accept you. Molly is the one who grew up with us in this family. When he said the latter part, he glanced at me secretly and noticed that I kept my head down without saying a word. Perhaps thinking I was too pitiful, Frank's tone suddenly softened again. Never mind. As long as you don't cause trouble, I can reluctantly let you stay, brother. Molly let out a dissatisfied scream, then, her eyes rolled back. This time, she had genuinely fainted from anger. The living room immediately descended into chaos once again. When I woke up again on a bed big enough to sleep 5 of me, it was already the next morning. The servant told me that Molly had been causing a fuss all night and wasn't taken away by an ambulance until 3 a.m. It seems the situation isn't looking good. It wasn't until evening that my so-called parents and brother dragged their exhausted bodies back home. Josephine, my mother's voice was terribly hoarse, as if she had been crying for a long time. The doctor said Molly is in a very bad state right now and can't handle any more stress. So my heart sank abruptly. Here it comes. Is the classic scene about to play out? For the sake of the fake heiress, is the real heiress about to be kicked out? Before they could speak, I said in a voice calmer than I had imagined, so, I should leave. The expressions on all 3 faces froze at the same time. A flicker of panic crossed my mother's face. My father guiltily turned his face away, not daring to look at me. My brother, Frank, stared intently at the tip of his shoe, as if a flower might bloom from the ground. In the end, it was my mother who broke the silence first. She walked over and grabbed my wrist. The pigeon egg-sized diamond ring on her hand digging painfully into my skin. Josephine, we know we've wronged you in this matter, but Molly is, after all, the daughter we've raised for 20 years. Frank chimed in weakly from the side. Exactly. Don't think that just because you're the biological daughter, you can take Molly's place. I couldn't be bothered with him. I turned to look at my father, who had remained silent all along. Dad, what do you say? My father's expression was very complex. There was conflict, there was reluctance, but soon, that pitiful warmth was replaced by the decisiveness unique to a businessman. Josephine, we've all discussed it. You should move out for a while, and we'll talk about it again once Molly's situation stabilizes. Have you discussed it? I almost burst out laughing. Who discussed it with whom? Why am I, the person involved, completely unaware of it? Indeed, in the script of a wealthy family, the true heiress is always the first to be sacrificed. This 24-hour experience card of being a wealthy heiress expired so quickly. Dad, I looked up and decided to fight for my last bit of benefit. Is it too much to ask for some compensation? My father seemed to have expected me to say this and nodded. What do you want? I want to work at Lopez Corporation. I said it bluntly, because of the birthmark on my face. All the resumes I've sent out recently have gone unanswered. Lopez Corporation is the company I most want to work for. It would be foolish not to use such a strong connection. To my surprise, my father, without saying a word, pulled a document from his briefcase and handed it to me. Sign this. I opened the document, puzzled. With just one glance, I was nearly blinded by the numbers on it. A transfer agreement for 20% of Lopez Group's shares. Frank doesn't take the company's affairs seriously, and Molly is in poor health. This burden should be handed over to you to carry. My father looked at me, his tone calm. Seeing me frozen in place, he frowned. What? Not satisfied? How dare I be dissatisfied? I immediately picked up the pen and swiftly signed my name, afraid he might change his mind the next second. Just as I finished signing the last character, the moment the pen tip left the paper, my phone let out a ding sound. I unlocked it to take a look. Bank app push notification. Your account ending in XXXX has received 100 million yuan, 100 million. I looked up in shock, meeting my mother's guilt-filled eyes. Mom gets easily emotional whenever she sees you. This is your compensation. Don't come back until you've spent all the money. I nodded obediently. The little voice in my heart was already setting off firecrackers. I turned and left without a moment's hesitation. Just as I was about to step out of the door, Frank suddenly caught up to me. He shoved a set of keys into my hand and said in a somewhat awkward tone, This villa is the farthest from the main residence. You can stay there for now. I was speechless. Why is this different from the plot in the novels? What they gave, is it a bit too much? I came out of this large villa and entered another large villa. The bed here is also very big and very soft. Lying on it, I looked at the long string of zeros in my mobile banking app and couldn't help but laugh out loud again. The Lopez family gives Molly their heart and soul, but to me, they give their money, plain and simple. Well, that's fine too, at least money won't betray me. Ding, the phone screen lit up. It was a text message from Molly. Josephine, so what if you're the biological daughter? You still got kicked out, didn't you? Let me tell you, as long as I'm here, don't even think about taking them away from me, Mom, Dad, and my brother. They're all mine, childish, who wants to fight her for people. I just want the money. Growing up in an orphanage, I saw through the warmth and coldness of human nature. At the age of 6, an accident took my adoptive parents away, and I was sent to an orphanage. The children there could generally be divided into two types, those who were cute-looking and those who were not. Unfortunately, because of the birthmark on my face, I belonged to the latter, so, the rare candies and new clothes distributed at the orphanage were never meant for me. Children my age would gang up to bully me. They poured cold water on my blanket and put insects in my meals. The worst time, a few older children locked me in a pitch-black storage room. I cried all night. My voice went hoarse, and no one even noticed I was gone. From that day on, I understood one thing. Since no one was willing to love me, I would make myself strong enough to no longer need anyone's love. While others were playing in the mud, I was studying. While others were sleeping in. I was studying. While others were dating, I was still studying. I gave it my all and finally became the first person from the orphanage to get into a top university. The day I walked out of the orphanage gates, I never looked back once. I will seize every opportunity and strive to climb to the top, including the identity of the Lopez family heiress. I was buried in a thick MBA textbook at the school library when my phone suddenly started buzzing incessantly. I picked it up and saw it was another annoying message from Molly. She sent a picture of an incredibly beautiful princess dress. Sis, do you think this dress is pretty? Mom specially had a designer in Paris customize it for me. Mom said I'll always be her one and only little princess. Oh, by the way, sis, we share the same birthday. What did Mom get you for your birthday gift? It was followed by a playful tongue-out emoji. I stared at the phone screen and let out a cold laugh. Yes. We share the same birthday. Why does she get a custom-made princess dress and the love of the whole family, while I might not even receive a simple, happy birthday? This isn't fair. Without a second thought, I opened WeChat and created a group. The group name is, One Big Happy Family, Bloodline Edition. My dad, my mom, and my brother. All three of their profile pictures popped up in the group chat in perfect unison. Frank, my mom, Josephine, my dad. What's this about? I didn't reply. Instead, I took a screenshot of Molly's boastful message and threw it into the group chat. Then I added a pitiful, teary-eyed emoji. Mom, Dad, brother, it's okay. Even when I was in the orphanage, no one ever remembered my birthday. I'm used to it. I don't blame you, really. This message was sent out, and in less than 5 minutes, my phone started ringing like crazy. Your account ending in XXXX has received 2 million yuan. Your account ending in XXXX has received 3 million yuan. Your account ending in XXXX has received 5,000,000 yuan. Looking at the string of deposit notifications, I curled my lips in satisfaction. From then on, it felt like I had unlocked a new wealth code. Every time Molly bragged to me in her social media posts or private messages about something new she had acquired, I would forward it exactly as it was to the Loving Family, Bloodline Edition group chat, along with a few perfectly well-behaved and subtly manipulative remarks. To keep Molly motivated to show off continuously, I occasionally act in front of her. Molly, wasn't stealing 20 years of my life enough? Why do you have to provoke me again and again like this? You imposter, you're spending my family's money again. Hurry up and return my parents and brother to me. I will definitely take back everything that belongs to me. The effect was surprisingly good. The more pleased she was, the more she bought, and the more she flaunted, the more she bought. The more money I had in my account. In the end, I suppose my parents couldn't stand this double bleeding anymore and drastically cut Molly's credit card limit. Molly finally quieted down for a while. As for me, watching the numbers in my bank account keep rising, my mood was simply delightful. This money power is indeed useful. Molly stayed quiet for a while, and I enjoyed the peace. Focusing on my classes and occasionally interning at a subsidiary of the Lopez Group, life was quite fulfilling. Until Molly's birthday banquet, which is also my birthday, the Lopez family villa was decorated with lanterns and streamers, and a row of limited edition sports cars parked at the entrance dazzled the eyes. I stood at the entrance, wearing a pink evening dress that my mother had specially sent over, feeling like a country bumpkin who had stumbled into a glitzy social scene. My mom said that today I would be given a formal identity, the Lopez family's newly adopted daughter, Molly's foster sister. As soon as I stepped through the door, I saw Molly surrounded by a group of gorgeously dressed young ladies, all fawning over her like stars around the moon. She was dressed like a real princess today, smiling as brightly as a flower. A woman in a light blue dress, with her chin held high, let out an exaggerated scream the moment she saw me. "Oh my, Molly, why did your new nanny come in through the main entrance?" Molly covered her mouth, giggling, but her eyes were filled with smugness. "Lily, don't say that. This is my newly recognized sister. It's her first time at an event like this, so she's not familiar with the rules." The woman named Lily looked me up and down and curled her lip. "Oh my, she really is a country bumpkin. Look how dark she is, and she dares to wear pink from head to toe. Isn't she afraid of being laughed at?" A chorus of mocking laughter erupted around us. "This pink dress I'm wearing really doesn't match my suntanned skin, but what can I do? It was personally chosen by my dear mother." I couldn't be bothered to deal with these chattering sparrows and headed straight to the dining area. After all, since I'm already here, it's not worth going hungry. Halfway there, I suddenly felt someone step hard on the hem of my skirt. There was a loud rip sound. The back of my pretty pink dress tore open in response. It was quite chilly. Whistles and malicious laughter immediately erupted from all around. I hadn't even processed what was happening when I felt a sudden, forceful push on my back. I lost control and lunged forward. The target, the towering champagne tower right in front of me. Bang! The sound of shattering glass, the splash of champagne, and the screams of women all blended into a chaotic mess. Drenched to the bone, I scrambled to my feet in a sorry state. The instigator, Molly, slowly retracted her foot clad in crystal high heels. "Oh dear, sister, how could you be so careless?" She covered her mouth in feigned surprise, but her eyes were filled with gleeful malice. Her lackeys had already raised their phones, snapping pictures of me frantically. Look, there are so many scars on her back. How disgusting, oh my god. Her back is so muscular, it doesn't look like a woman's at all. She's practically a tomboy. I think she did it on purpose. With so many wealthy young masters at this banquet, she must have torn her clothes to seduce someone. Malicious speculations and gossip surged toward me like a tide. The birthmark on my face and the scar on my back from a childhood mishap have now become the subjects of their ridicule. Molly hypocritically reached out her hand, pretending to help me up. "Sister, are you okay? Get up quickly." Just as her hand was about to touch me, she acted as if I had pushed her hard, staggering backwards several steps, and tears welled up in her eyes instantly. "Sister, I know you're upset, but I was just trying to help you up. Why did you push me?" She looked at me with a pitiful expression, her eyes red like a rabbit's. The onlookers immediately erupted in an uproar. How outrageous. How can someone like this still have the nerve to stay here? Exactly. She's just an adopted daughter. What's there to be proud of? How dare she give the real heiress attitude? Poor people have no manners. They don't even have a shred of gratitude. Vicious? Fine, since you all say I'm vicious, then I'll make sure to live up to that reputation. I sneered, kicked off the ill-fitting high heels, and charged toward Molly barefoot. Molly probably didn't expect me to lash out so suddenly. Her expression didn't even have time to change. Asterisk slap. Slap. Asterisk. Too sharp. Crisp slaps rang out, cutting clearly through the noisy banquet hall. Molly was completely stunned by my two slaps. Two bright red palm prints quickly appeared on her fair cheeks. It took several seconds before she covered her face and screamed in disbelief. "Josephine, how dare you hit me?" Her lackeys, seeing this, howled and rushed forward to avenge her. I nimbly jumped onto the nearby dining table, looking down at them from above, grabbing the overly sweet-looking cream cake from the table. I unhesitatingly hurled it at their faces. "Bayou, bayou, bayou, here comes the little flying stick." I smashed away while happily providing sound effects. The snow-white fresh cream drew perfect parabolas in the air, accurately smearing the faces, hair, and expensive gowns of the young ladies who were charging at the front. "Ah, my hair, my dress. This is a limited edition, they screamed, frantically wiping the cream off their faces. And the scene quickly descended into chaos, immediately after. I grabbed several unopened bottles of champagne from the table, I shook them vigorously a few times and pulled out the corks. Then, I aimed at them and began spraying. Come on, all of you, come here, don't you love champagne? Today, it's on the house, drink as much as you want. The icy champagne gushed out, drenching them by surprise. They scattered in panic. Someone accidentally stumbled into the buffet area, knocking over a mountain of food, in their frantic escape. Someone crashed headfirst into the elegant dessert table, sending colorful macarons and cupcakes rolling all over the floor. The entire banquet hall instantly turned into a scene of disaster. Meanwhile, our little princess, Molly, in the midst of the chaos, had her dress stepped on by someone, and with a thud, she fell right into the large ice bucket used to chill champagne. Help, it's so cold. She shivered as she cried for help. Unfortunately, everyone was busy fleeing for their lives. So who had the time to pay attention to her? She called out a few times, but seeing that no one was paying her any mind, she had no choice but to crawl out of the ice bucket, covered in dust and looking disheveled, soaked to the bone, shivering from the cold, and utterly disgraced. Just as she had crawled out and hadn't yet steadied herself, I seized the opportunity and, like a starving tiger pouncing on its prey, rushed over and tackled her to the ground. I was on top of her, yanking hard at her expensive custom-made gown. Rip, a crisp tearing sound. Her proud princess dress, from the chest to the hem, was torn open by me in a long gash, revealing the flesh-colored undergarments inside. Josephine, you're crazy, let go of me now, Molly screamed, struggling desperately, trying to escape my clutches. I sneered, my eyes icy cold. Don't you like tearing other people's clothes? Come on, let's hurt each other. Let's see who's more ruthless. Dad, Mom, brother, help. Josephine has gone mad. She's trying to kill me, Molly screamed hysterically, her voice cracking. When the three members of the Lopez family rushed over at the sound, they were met with this heart-stopping scene. I was straddling their precious daughter Molly, roughly tearing at her clothes, almost stripping her completely naked. Scattered around were the remains of a cake and shattered glass. A dozen usually glamorous young ladies, now all covered in cream from head to face. Their gowns stained with various smudges, stood trembling on the side, looking like a flock of frightened quails. Josephine, what's wrong with you? My brother, Frank, was the first to rush over. Roaring as he tried to grab me, I immediately put on my acting skills, pushing him away. She began frantically pulling at her own hair, letting out piercing screams as she did so, tears and snot smeared all over her face, rolling around on the ground. I don't want to live anymore. I don't want to live. The real daughter is being bullied like this by the fake heiress, and your whole family is pretending to be blind and not see it. You just want to force me to die. You want to force me to die to make way for Molly, that imposter. Fine, I'll die right in front of you. Taking advantage of the moment when everyone was stunned by my sudden, crazy move, I seized the opportunity, leaped up from the ground, and charged straight at my brother Frank. Bang, a dull thud. We both fell to the ground at the same time. Frank clutched his forehead where I had hit him, groaning in pain, and I, lying stiffly on the ground, began to convulse uncontrollably. With white foam frothing from my mouth, I'm dead. Using the last bit of my strength, I delivered this line, then tilted my head and breathed my last. Everyone present, including the guests who had been pointing and whispering about me just moments before, was completely stunned. Molly was so terrified that her face turned pale, collapsing to the ground, pointing at me and breaking down in tears. She's lying. I didn't bully her. I'm not an imposter. Dad, Mom. Hurry and explain to everyone. But at this moment, everyone's gaze toward her had changed, filled with doubt, disdain, and a hint of fear. I lay on the ground, a barely noticeable smile curling at the corner of my mouth. You think you can mess with me? You're still too green. Of course, I couldn't actually die in the banquet hall, after causing a sufficient uproar and successfully pinning the labels of malicious, jealous, and bullying the real heiress on Molly. I was hurriedly carried by the flustered servants to a guest room upstairs. Dr. Lee was urgently summoned again to perform a checkup on me, ultimately concluding that it was a temporary shock caused by excessive emotional agitation, nothing serious, and that I just needed some rest. My parents and Frank stood by my bedside, each of their faces looking extremely grim. I kept my eyes closed, pretending to be asleep. Listening as the murmurs of the guests in the banquet hall downstairs gradually faded away, when the entire villa had quieted down, I slowly opened my eyes. On the nightstand was a set of clean clothes to change into, along with the old backpack I had brought with me earlier. It seems they were preparing for me to, gracefully, get lost. From downstairs came the faint sound of Molly crying uncontrollably, gasping for breath. Woo-woo, now those videos and photos must have gone viral online. They all say I'm a bad woman who stole someone else's place, that I, the fake heiress, bullied the real one. I can't face anyone anymore. Woo-woo, Dad, Mom, Brother, I don't want to live anymore. Just let me die. Again, I couldn't help but roll my eyes. The same old trick, but it works every time. Used it 800 times already. Aren't you tired of it? Fine, since you love acting so much, I'll put on a grand show with you today. I took out my secret weapon from my backpack, a small bag of pre-prepared fake blood, and carefully tucked it into the front of my clothes, to make sure the effect later will amaze everyone. I tidied my messy hair and clothes, took a deep breath, opened the door, and walked out. Just as I reached the stairwell, I heard my father roaring downstairs, "You wretched creature, get on your knees, look at the mess you've made today. You've completely shamed the Lopez family." I followed the sound and looked down. Molly was kneeling in the center of the living room, weeping like a delicate flower, looking utterly pitiful. She nestled in my mother's arms, crying while still not forgetting to continue making me look bad. "Sister, I know you resent me in your heart. Blame me for taking away the parents and brother that should have been yours. But back then I was just a baby. I didn't know anything. If you have any grievances, just take them out on me. You can hit me or scold me, but why did you have to cause a scene in public? How will Dad face his business partners in the future? How will Mom ever hold her head up in front of those ladies?" As soon as these words were spoken, the three people present, my dad, my mom, and my brother, looked at me with eyes that could practically spit fire. I sneered and walked down the stairs step by step. "Fine, since you're so sincere, then go die," I said calmly. Molly was clearly taken aback for a moment, then cried even more intensely, as if she had suffered a great injustice. "Sister, how could you say that about me? If my death could truly make you let go of the resentment in your heart, then I'm willing." With that, her trembling hand reached for a fruit knife from the fruit plate on the nearby coffee table, as if about to cut her own wrist. Molly, my mom, and my brother exclaimed at the same time, rushing over to stop her. Frank snatched the fruit knife from her hand, turned his head, and looked at me with eyes full of disgust and disappointment. "Josephine, are you determined to push her to her death? Ugh, what brand of trash bag is this, Molly? It's so roomy." I strode forward quickly and snatched the fruit knife from Frank's hand. Come on, don't trouble yourself. Let me help you." I raised the knife in my hand. Under Molly's horrified gaze, I aimed at my own chest and stabbed down fiercely. With a thud sound, bright red blood instantly gushed out, staining the front of my clothes. "It's your turn now, Molly." I threw the knife, covered in blood, at her feet. Molly screamed in terror, scrambling backward, her face as pale as a sheet. No, I don't want to die. I don't want to die," she cried out incoherently, no longer maintaining the chaste and resolute demeanor she had just shown, ready to face death. My mother was the first to react, screaming as she rushed to my side, her hands trembling. She tried to press on the wound on my chest to stop the bleeding, but I grabbed her wrist firmly. "Mom, don't bother. I can't go on." I lifted my head weakly, my eyes brimming with tears as I looked at the three people before me, Dad, Mom, Brother. With each name I called out, the blood in my chest splurted out in sync. Looking at the expressions on their faces, a mix of shock, fear, and a hint of guilt, I felt a secret thrill inside. When I found out you were my family, I was so happy I couldn't sleep for 3 days and 3 nights. My dad's eyes reddened, and he abruptly turned his head away, his shoulders trembling uncontrollably. My brother Frank stood to the side, slapping his own face in regret. "Woo-woo, I'm so terrible. I shouldn't have treated you like that." And my mother, holding me tightly, cried with tears and snot running down her face. "Josephine, my dear daughter, don't say any more. Mom will call an ambulance right now. You'll be fine." "No." I suddenly raised my voice, using all my strength to shout some words. "If I don't say them now, it'll be too late." The three of them immediately grew more tense and huddled closer. In all six eyes, there was nothing but anxiety and regret. Josephine, what do you want to say? Hurry up and say it. We're all listening. Whatever you say, we'll agree to it, my dad rushed to say. I weakly coughed twice and spit out 2 more mouthfuls of blood. I know, this family can no longer keep me. Give me some money. Let me go. From now on, I'll never come back again. Give. We'll give it to you. My mother fumbled to take out her phone, her fingers trembling as she tapped the screen. Mom will transfer 50 million to you first. Okay, Josephine, hold on. We're going to the hospital right away. Not enough. I shook my head with difficulty. Turned to look at my father, my eyes filled with longing. Dad, my father's face turned pale. He gritted his teeth, and also took out his phone. I then looked at my brother, Frank. Brother, without a word, Frank transferred a large sum of money to me, his eyes as red as a rabbit's. Ding, ding, ding. 3 crisp payment notification sounds, like heavenly music, rang in my ears at that very moment. I sprang up from the ground like a carp leaping out of water, fully revived and jumping to my feet. All right, payment and goods settled. I'll head back now. Goodbye, everyone. I waved at the 3 stunned individuals and the equally dumbfounded Molly, beaming with a bright smile. 3 people. Molly was the first to react, pointing at me and screaming in a rage. She's not dead. She was faking it. She pretended to be dead to scam money. I yanked out the deflated blood pack hidden in my chest and threw it right at Molly's head, bright red. Foul-smelling liquid trickled down her carefully styled curls, smearing all over her face. Thick, crimson liquid quickly spread into a large, dark red stain on the carpet. Ah, what is this? It stinks. It's disgusting, Molly screamed hysterically, clawing at her hair like a madwoman. I flashed an angelically pure and flawless smile, winked at her, and said, black dog blood. I heard it specifically for curing all kinds of green tea bitches, white lotuses, and psychos. You're welcome. Humming a cheerful tune, I picked up my old backpack with light steps and walked out of the Lopez family's front door with style. Amidst their stunned and furious expressions and Molly's heart-wrenching cries, the farce of the real and fake heiress has finally come to a temporary end. Next, it's time for me, the new shareholder of the Lopez Group, Miss Josephine, to make her official entrance. Within a few days, the Lopez family officially released a public statement. The wording of the statement was meticulous, but its content was enough to cause a huge uproar in the entire upper class. I, Josephine, am the biological daughter of Mr. David, chairman of the Lopez Group, and the rightful true heiress of the Lopez family. As for Molly, who has been pampered since childhood and enjoyed a life of luxury for 20 years, she is merely an adopted daughter, mistakenly taken from the hospital 20 years ago and later adopted by the Lopez family. The statement caused an uproar in public opinion. I have finally cleared my name. Although this vindication came about in a rather convoluted way, the outcome is ultimately positive. In the days that followed, I threw myself wholeheartedly into my work at the Lopez Group. My father probably felt he owed me too much, or perhaps my previous, life or death, performance had impressed him. In any case, he didn't assign me to some laid-back department to coast into retirement. Instead, he placed me right by his side, having me learn how to handle company affairs alongside him. I showed up at the office promptly at 7 a.m. every day, and working late into the night became the norm. I never went back to the Lopez family's opulent mansion again. My mother did call me a few times, asking about my well-being and subtly hinting at whether I wanted to move back in. I always declined by saying I was too busy with work and that living near the company was more convenient. I know that. Deep down, she still favors Molly, the daughter she raised for 20 years. I don't expect to receive much genuine maternal love from her. Having money, company shares, and the opportunity to pursue my ambitions, that's enough. As for family affection or the like, can that stuff be eaten as a meal? 3 years, not too long, not too short. Enough for an ambitious and hard-working person to establish a firm foothold in a major corporation. Nowadays, everyone at Lopez Corporation, upon seeing me, respectfully addresses me as Young Master Lopez. I have proven my worth with solid achievements and decisive actions. And what about Molly? She is still active in that glamorous socialite circle. From time to time, she would post the latest designer bags, limited edition jewelry, or intimate photos with the Lopez family elders on social media. The captions are always like, "Thank you, Daddy and Mommy, for your love." I'll always be your little princess, and so on. She tried very hard to tell the world that, even if her identity was exposed, she was still the most favored one in the Lopez family. However, I don't care, as long as she doesn't provoke me. I don't mind the Lopez family keeping another extravagant canary. It's just a pity that some people are born restless. Molly, she can't hold back anymore and is about to start causing trouble again. The Lopez family has arranged a marriage alliance for me. The target is the only son of the Green group, Kevin. This young Master Green may look handsome and dashing, but he's a notorious playboy, falling for every pretty girl he sees, eager to shower warmth upon all the beautiful women in the world. Speaking of which, he was Molly's childhood sweetheart. My dad had a private talk with me. Josephine, the Green family is interested in your abilities and the Lopez family's background. As long as you marry into their family, not only will the Lopez group be yours in the future, but the Green family's assets will also, barring any unforeseen circumstances, be under your control. He paused meaningfully before adding, although that Kevin is a good-for-nothing, the advantage is that he's not very bright and easy to control. I flipped through Kevin's information, a slight smile curling at the corner of my mouth. Indeed, you have to give up to gain. A marriage in a wealthy family has always been just a business. Who to marry isn't it all the same, since we're going to sell? We might as well sell for a good price. I just didn't expect that. Molly, she actually came out to stir up trouble. My first formal meeting with Kevin was arranged at an upscale restaurant. I arrived 10 minutes early and chose a quiet seat by the window. When Kevin appeared at the restaurant entrance, arm in arm with the glamorously dressed Molly, chatting and laughing, my hand holding the coffee cup paused slightly. Sis, Molly was draped over Kevin as if she had no bones, cooing at me in a soft, delicate voice. Brother Kevin insisted on bringing me along. You're not angry, are you? As she spoke, she deliberately shook their interlocked hands, her eyes filled with provocation. Brother Kevin said that I'm the only one in his heart, sister. He's mine, you can't take him away. I slowly set down the coffee cup in my hand. My gaze lingered on their intertwined arms for a moment before I suddenly laughed. Oh, is that so? If he's so precious, why not just chain him up with a gold leash, bringing him out like this? What if he bites someone? That wouldn't be good. Kevin's face instantly turned ashen. He loosened the tie around his neck, revealing a few ambiguous red marks on his neck, looking just like a peacock flaunting its feathers. Josephine, don't think that just because my father has your back, you can do whatever you want. Let me tell you, Kevin would rather die than marry a shameless woman like you. Oh, I propped my chin on one hand, watching him with great interest, as if observing a clumsy farce. How do you plan to die? Jumping off a building, or slitting your wrists? Do you need me to call an ambulance for you in advance? Or should I just arrange a one-stop funeral service for you? Kevin was so angry that his fists were clenched and cracking, his handsome face almost contorted. I came here today to make it clear to you, the one I love is Molly. I will only marry Molly in this lifetime. He glanced affectionately at Molly beside him, then turned back and glared at me fiercely. If I could ever be interested in a scheming, mannish woman like you with a face that brings bad luck to her husband, then I, Kevin, am a dog, if you know what's good for you. Get lost and go tell my old man you're not worthy of me. After saying that, he grabbed Molly, who was beaming with pride, and turned to leave. Before leaving, he deliberately turned back and flipped me off. Childish, I chuckled softly and took out my phone from my bag. I recorded their brilliant performance just now, along with Kevin's grand statements, exactly as they were, and sent it directly to the chairman of the Green Group. Kevin's own father. I am no longer the pushover I used to be. I hold 20% of the shares in the Lopez Group, making me the legitimate general manager and future heir of the company. And what about Molly? What does she have besides that pitiful heart condition and an incurable case of princess syndrome? In less than 5 minutes, Chairman Green's call came through. On the other end of the line, Chairman Green's voice was filled with suppressed anger, but when speaking to me, his tone was unusually gentle. Josephine, you've been wronged, don't worry. Our Green family only recognizes you as our daughter-in-law. Kevin was severely scolded by his father over the phone and was reportedly almost subjected to the family discipline that would have been airlifted from abroad. In a fit of anger, he ran away from home. He even declared harshly that he would rather die than marry me, Josephine, in this lifetime, unless his family agrees to his marriage with Molly. He will sever all ties with the Green family and never have anything to do with them again. Molly was so moved that she was an absolute mess. tearfully posting a declaration of love on social media, with all sorts of sappy lines like, willing to defy the whole world for love, and, true love conquers all, which made me cringe so hard my goosebumps fell off. She was also crying and making a scene at the Lopez family home, threatening to go on a hunger strike and insisting she would marry no one but Kevin. What a pair of star-crossed, heart-wrenching lovers. Unfortunately, this time, the usually doting and indulgent Lopez family elders were surprisingly firm. They locked her directly in the room and even confiscated her phone, fearing she might cause more trouble and disrupt the grand plan of the alliance between the Lopez and Green families. When I went to visit Molly, she was sitting on the windowsill, wearing a white cotton nightgown and barefoot, her eyes hollow as she stared out the window. After just a few days, she had lost a lot of weight, her face as pale as a ghost, but her eyes were frighteningly bright. When she saw me, the corners of her mouth lifted into a smile tinged with a hint of sickness and defiance. Josephine, don't get too cocky. True love can overcome all hardships and obstacles. You can't break us and brother Kevin apart. I smiled, smiling with a carefree ease. Is that so? Since you're so confident in your true love, I'll grant you your wish. That very night, I accidentally broke the lock on Molly's room and, coincidentally, avoided all the surveillance cameras and bodyguards, successfully letting her out. Molly naturally couldn't wait to go find her Kevin. At first, this pair of eloping for love sweethearts lived a life full of passion and sweetness. Molly posted over a dozen moments on her social media every day, either showing off the instant noodles Kevin personally cooked for her or sharing intimate selfies of the two squeezed together on the subway during the morning rush hour. The captions were always along the lines of, being with the one you love, even simple meals feel happy and fulfilling, or, although squeezing onto the subway is tough, as long as I can lean on his shoulder, I feel like I have the whole world. It's just like acting in some third-rate youth angst idol drama, unfortunately. An idol drama is, after all, just an idol drama. Reality soon taught them a lesson. Kevin, having grown up in luxury and accustomed to a lavish lifestyle, how could he endure such a hard life without money or cards? And Molly was a young lady who never lifted a finger, pampered and spoiled, too lazy to even pour herself a glass of water. The two of them soon began to argue frequently over money, with small quarrels every 3 days and big fights every 5 days. Kevin despised Molly for being delicate and pretentious, capable of nothing but crying and throwing tantrums. Molly, on the other hand, complained that Kevin was incompetent and irresponsible, unable to even find a decent job. What's even more terrifying is Molly's suffocating possessiveness. Like a lunatic, she would go through Kevin's phone, check his schedule, and even secretly follow him when he met friends. If Kevin was even a minute late in replying to her messages, she would become suspicious, convinced that he was fooling around with other women. Then she would start with the crying, the tantrums, and the threats of suicide. Kevin finally couldn't take it anymore. He began to frequent bars, drowning his sorrows in alcohol. It was in a brightly lit, bustling bar that I ran into Kevin again. He was sitting alone in a corner of the bar, with empty bottles piled in front of him, drinking himself into a daze. He looked up and saw me, first stunned for a moment, then let out a self-mocking bitter laugh. Josephine, did you come here just to laugh at me? I leisurely sat down in the empty seat beside him, ordering a whiskey for myself. I said in a calm tone, I'm not that idle. He stared at the glass in front of him, his gaze somewhat unfocused, and suddenly began to vent his frustrations. Josephine, do you know, Molly? She's just insane. She's truly gone mad. She keeps threatening to kill herself, crying, making a scene, and hanging herself. I don't even have a moment to catch my breath. I must have been blind. If I'd known she was this kind of person, I might as well have listened to my dad back then and been with you. Before he could finish his sentence, his phone rang. The name, Molly, my little darling, flashed on the screen. He irritably hung up the phone, but within seconds, the phone rang again, persistently. Hey, what is it now? He finally answered the phone impatiently, growling into the receiver in a low voice. I told you I want to be alone. I'm not with anyone. Can you stop being so suspicious all the time? If you have so much free time, why don't you go find a job? Molly's hysterical scream immediately came from the other end of the line, even without putting it on speaker. The piercing sound was clearly audible. At that moment, the bar's door was suddenly pushed open. Molly was drenched, her hair disheveled and clinging to her cheeks, standing at the entrance like a female ghost, her eyes filled with venom as she glared at us. Kevin, you lied to me again." The entire bar fell silent instantly. All eyes were fixed on us in unison. Some people had even secretly raised their phones, ready to capture this dramatic moment. "Josephine, you shameless vixen. How dare you seduce my man?" Molly, like an enraged lioness, screamed and charged at me, grabbing a glass from the bar counter in front of me and about to splash it in my face. Kevin reacted quickly, grabbing her wrist firmly. The glass fell to the ground with a sharp crack, shattering into pieces. Wine and shards of glass splattered everywhere. "Molly, have you lost your damn mind?" The veins on Kevin's temple bulged. Clearly he was also extremely angry. "We just happened to run into each other. Can you not always think of things in such a dirty way?" Molly suddenly let out a strange, sharp, and piercing laugh. "Coincidence? Who are you trying to fool? You did it for her, didn't you? You want to marry her. You want to go back and be the glorious young master of the Green family." "Kevin, you're a spineless coward. Without the Green family, you're nothing. You're just a nobody." Smack, a crisp, loud slap. Kevin, furious and humiliated, slapped Molly hard across the face. Molly completely broke down, clutching her rapidly swelling cheek. She stared at Kevin in disbelief and screamed, "Kevin, I gave up everything for you. How could you treat me like this? How dare you hit me? Kevin, you'll regret this. I'm breaking up with you. We're over," Molly cried out, stumbling as she ran out of the bar. Kevin did not go after her. He just slumped into the chair as if all the strength had been drained from his body. He grabbed a bottle of strong liquor from the bar, tilted it to his mouth, and gulped down several large mouthfuls. I sat nearby, holding my glass of whiskey, a faint smile curling at the corner of my lips. "Molly, oh Molly, you still don't understand men. Do you think you can hold on to a man's heart with tears, threats, or so-called moral blackmail? But you don't realize, men are like sand held in your hand. The tighter you grasp, the faster it slips away." I took Kevin, who was dead drunk, back to another apartment under my name. He collapsed on the sofa, head tilted back, staring blankly at the ceiling like a large abandoned dog, looking pitiful. Suddenly, he asked me in a hoarse voice, "Josephine, am I really useless?" I handed him a glass of warm water, my tone as calm as if stating a fact. It really is quite useless." He froze for a moment, then his eyes reddened. He snatched the water glass from my hand and gulped down a large mouthful. He ended up coughing violently, choking so hard that tears and snot streamed down his face. He wiped his face clumsily with the back of his hand, his voice thick with a nasal tone and choked sobs. Even you say that, I'm just a complete and utter failure, right?" I didn't respond to him. Instead, I walked over and sat down on the single sofa across from him, took out my tablet from my bag, and began handling the backlog of company files. Seeing that I was ignoring him, he became even more emotionally distraught, like a child throwing a tantrum for not getting candy. He grabbed a cushion from the sofa and hurled it violently onto the floor. "I hate you all. I hate my dad. I hate those damn companies. I never wanted to inherit any family business. Why does everyone have to pressure me?" He turned around in a rage, glaring at me. "Especially you, Josephine. Every time I see your cold, emotionless face, it reminds me of my father. You're all the same. All you care about is profit. You don't care at all about what I really want." I put down the tablet in my hand, looked up, and calmly stared at him. "Now, no one is forcing you." He froze. "What do you mean?" I smiled faintly, a hint of slyness barely detectable in my expression. "Your parents have been actively trying to conceive lately, preparing to start a new account." "What?" Kevin abruptly sat up straight on the sofa, his drunkenness fading significantly. They want to have another child. Then, what about the marriage alliance between our families? Could it be you're going to marry my yet-to-be-born brother or sister?" He was getting more and more outrageous, so I cut him off in time. "Kevin, be honest with me. Why are you so against marrying me?" He choked for a moment, then irritably ran a hand through his messy hair. You just look like the kind of woman who's super rigid and boring. If I really married you, I'd be stuck working overtime at the company every day. I'd even have to report to you in advance just to go out for drinks or hit the bars. That kind of life. Just thinking about it is terrifying." I chuckled softly. "Who said that? If you marry me, I can manage the company for you. You just need to focus on being beautiful, or rather, focus on having a good time, while I take care of earning the money." He looked at me suspiciously, his eyes flickering with uncertainty. "Really? You're not lying to me?" "Of course it's true." My tone was as casual as if I were talking about the weather. If you like to have fun, I won't interfere. I don't care how many female confidants or male confidants you have outside, as long as you don't cause any deaths or get me into any big trouble. I can't be bothered to care. Kevin's eyes instantly lit up, like two small flames ignited in the dark night, but soon, he narrowed his eyes warily. You've listed all the benefits, so, what about the downsides? Surely there must be some cost, right? A meaningful smile curled at the corner of my lips. You said, whoever falls for me is a dog, and you also said, if you ever married me, you'd admit defeat. Kevin's face instantly flushed bright red, like a boiled crab. His fingers clenched and unclenched. Unclenched and clenched again, his expression shifting unpredictably, a spectacle in itself. Finally, he glared at me with gritted teeth, as if making a resolution born of deep-seated hatred. Through clenched teeth, he forced out a single word with great difficulty. Woof. The wedding between Kevin and me was grand and dignified. Business tycoons and political dignitaries all attended, with major media outlets vying to cover this century's high society union. I wore an exquisitely expensive haute couture wedding dress, holding onto Kevin's arm, with a proper and blissful smile on my face, accepting blessings and envious gazes from all directions. Kevin was fully cooperative throughout the entire event, even leaning in close to my ear during the ring exchange and whispering with a light laugh, in a voice only the two of us could hear, President Lopez, a pleasure doing business with you. As soon as the wedding ended, I immediately threw myself into work, busy handling various matters following the merger of the two companies, even skipping the so-called honeymoon trip altogether. Kevin was naturally quite pleased with himself. He immediately gathered a group of his rowdy friends, chartered a luxury yacht, and sailed to international waters to throw a party, celebrating his newfound freedom. I heard that, on the very day of our wedding, Molly attempted suicide at the Lopez family home. She swallowed half a bottle of sleeping pills, but fortunately, the maid discovered it in time, and she was rushed to the hospital in the middle of the night for gastric lavage and emergency treatment, barely saving her life. By the time she woke up, my wedding with Kevin had already concluded successfully. What's done is done. With trembling fingers, she dialed Kevin's number over and over again, but all she ever heard was the cold, automated message, the number you have dialed is switched off. Kevin was truly frightened by her and had long since blocked all her contact information. Later, she still refused to give up. Finally, at a members-only private bar, she found Kevin, who was happily surrounded by a group of stunningly attractive female models, enjoying himself with one on each arm. Molly stood in the dimly lit corner of the bar, clenching her fists so tightly that her nails nearly dug into her palms. In the end, she still did not step forward to cause a scene. Just silently took a few photos and sent them to me. The postscript was just a short sentence. Aren't you going to do something about him? I glanced at the indecent photos on my phone screen, let out a light laugh, casually tossed the phone aside, and continued burying myself in the mountain of documents in front of me. Ridiculous. Someone like me, who grew up struggling with lack of food and clothing and the fickleness of human relationships. I couldn't care less about so-called family bonds or elusive love. All I want is money and power. I want things that are visible, tangible, and firmly in my grasp. Things that will never betray me. 2 years after marriage, I gave birth to a son. The birth of the child did not affect my career. Instead, it further solidified my position in the Green family, under my iron-fisted management and meticulous planning. The stock prices of both the Lopez and Green corporations have multiplied several times over, and the total market value of the enterprises has also reached a historic high. My personal net worth has also soared as a result. Even my usually arrogant and dismissive cheap father now looks at me with a hint of barely noticeable awe. That day, after finishing my work at the company, I returned to the Lopez family's old mansion. I sat leisurely in the master's chair in the living room, a symbol of the head of the household, savoring a fine tea at a relaxed pace. My parents sat somewhat stiffly on the sofa below me. Their expressions varied. I set down the Celadon teacup in my hand, the lid clinking softly against the cup with a clear, crisp sound. My tone was calm, yet carried an undeniable authority. Molly has been living off the Lopez family, enjoying all these years of wealth and luxury. Now, it's her turn to contribute something to this family, isn't it, Mrs. Lopez? My so-called mother showed a hint of hesitation and reluctance on her face. But, Josephine, the other party's age, isn't it a bit too old? And I've heard his temper isn't very good either. Mr. Lopez, my so-called father, remained silent from start to finish, just quietly smoking his cigar. Amid the swirling smoke, his expression was unclear, but his attitude of tacit approval clearly indicated his stance. I smiled, a smile devoid of any warmth, then let Molly make the choice herself. I gave her two options. The first option, sever all ties with the Lopez family completely, cut off all relations, take a severance payment, return to her original identity as a commoner, and fend for herself. The second option, obediently follow the family's arrangements and enter into a marriage alliance. The other party is a nouveau riche from out of town who made his fortune in the mining business. He is indeed quite a bit older, almost old enough to be her father. And he has had 3 wives who all passed away, each said to be a bit unusual, but the advantage is that he is wealthy, and he has promised that as long as Molly can bear him a son, all the property under his name will be inherited by that child in the future. For the rest of her life, living as a wealthy lady without worries about food and clothing would certainly not be a problem. Molly bit her lip, her eyes red as she glared at me, like a small animal driven into a corner. Josephine. Who do you think you are? What gives you the right to decide my life? She cried and screamed hysterically for a long time, even resorting to her old tricks again by starting a hunger strike in protest. Unfortunately, this time, no one in the Lopez family was on her side anymore. She finally understood in despair that so-called favoritism can indeed vanish, after she lost her value to be used. She also lost all the capital to be willful, on the 3rd day of her hunger strike. She was so weak she could barely stand, leaning against the wall and shuffling step by step to me, choosing the second path. On the day of the wedding, she held the arm of her 50-something, balding, beer-bellied marriage alliance partner, her face adorned with exquisite makeup, yet unable to conceal her tear-swollen eyes and haggard expression. As she brushed past me, she glared at me with gritted teeth. Her voice hoarse as she asked, why, in just a few short years, has everything changed? Why has everyone changed? I smiled with serene ease, utterly and delightfully satisfied. Rely on others and they may leave, rely on mountains and they may crumble. Molly, in this world, the only one you can truly rely on is always yourself. Unfortunately, you've been a caged bird for too long and have long forgotten how to fly on your own. Later, I would occasionally hear about Molly's recent situation from some gossip. I heard she's been praying to gods and Buddhas everywhere, trying all sorts of folk remedies to have a son as soon as possible, hoping to secure her position in her husband's family and fight for the family fortune. But she never got her wish. She had also returned to the Lopez family several times to cry and complain about her unhappy life. At first, Mrs. Lopez would comfort her with a few words, but later, tired of hearing it, she simply avoided her and used the money I gave her to travel the world. And I have long since achieved true financial freedom, living that kind of life where I can do as I please and spend money like water. For example, when I'm in a good mood, I'll order 10 or 8 young, handsome male models all at once, have them drink with me, play cards, and throw yacht parties. Whatever makes me happy. It's just that recently, Kevin, for some unknown reason, has suddenly turned over a new leaf and mended his ways. Not only did he dismiss all the sisters around him, but he also started coming home on time every day, personally cooking meals and making soup for me, saying he wanted to live a good life with me and make up for his past mistakes. I was not moved. Still, he continued to enjoy himself and have fun, as one should make the most of life's pleasures when they come. Life is short, why chase after those elusive and unrealistic romantic fantasies? The day I asked Kevin for a divorce, he rushed into my private yacht like a madman, only to see me surrounded by a group of male models in skimpy swim trunks, with well-built bodies, feeding me fruit, fanning me, and telling jokes. His eyes instantly reddened. In a hoarse voice, tinged with a hint of pleading, he asked me, Josephine, can we not get divorced? I swirled the champagne flute in my hand, the golden liquid inside shimmering with an enticing glow under the sunlight. I looked at him, my red lips parting slightly as I uttered 2 words, no. Why? He pressed, his eyes filled with unwillingness and hurt. I let out a light laugh, my smile bright yet cruel, because, Kevin, you are too filthy. After hearing the story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.